The sound of hooves echoed through the valley as Nathan pushed his horse harder, the cold wind slicing through his face. His hands trembled on the reins, not from fear, but from guilt. Something terrible had happened, something he couldn't undo. The fields of Hudson blurred past him, but the memories wouldn't fade. Every gallop felt like a heartbeat counting down to disaster. Somewhere in the distance, the sun dipped behind the hills, leaving Heartland under the shadow of secrets. Nathan wasn't just racing to reach the ranch. He was racing against time and against the truth that could destroy everyone he cared about. The day had started like any other at Heartland. Amy brushed the horses, Lou checked her phone for endless town council updates, and Jack prepared the morning feed. But peace never lasted long in Hudson. When Nathan appeared at the gate, covered in sweat and dust, his eyes wild with panic, Amy knew something was wrong. He didn't speak at first. He just handed her a folded note, his hands shaking. "You need to read this now," he whispered. Amy opened it slowly. The paper smelled faintly of oil and fear. The message was short. The poison wasn't meant for the horse. Her breath caught in her throat. For days, they'd been trying to understand why one of Nathan's horses had fallen violently ill. Everyone thought it was an accident, a bad batch of feed, maybe. But now, this changed everything. Jack stepped forward, suspicious as always. "Nathan, what the hell is going on?" His voice was low, but sharp enough to cut through the tension. Nathan didn't meet his eyes. "Someone's using the ranches around Hudson to cover up something big. It's not about money, it's about revenge." The silence that followed felt heavy. Amy's heart raced. She could see the pain in Nathan's eyes and something else too. Guilt. He wasn't telling the full story. That night, Amy sat alone in the barn, replaying his words. The horses shifted uneasily, as if they could sense the storm brewing. She looked down at the note again and noticed something odd. The paper wasn't new. It had been torn from an old vet record, and on the back was a faded signature, one she recognized. It was Nathan's father's name. Her mind spun. Nathan's father had died years ago under mysterious circumstances, leaving behind unanswered questions and debts. Could it be that his past was coming back to haunt them all? Suddenly, the barn door creaked open. Nathan stepped inside, his face half hidden in the shadows. "You weren't supposed to see that name," he said quietly. Amy turned, startled, but unafraid. "Then maybe it's time someone did," she replied. Nathan stepped closer, his voice trembling. "You don't understand, Amy. My father wasn't the man everyone thought he was. And if the people he worked with find out what you know, you'll be next." Her stomach turned cold. The realization hit her. Whatever secret Nathan was hiding wasn't just dangerous. It was deadly. As the night deepened, thunder rolled over the hills, echoing like a warning. Amy watched Nathan leave into the darkness once more, her heart heavy with questions. The note, the poison, the past. They were all connected. And somewhere in Hudson, someone was pulling the strings, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. Amy whispered to herself as rain began to fall. "What are you hiding, Nathan?" The answer wouldn't come easily. But one thing was clear. This was only the beginning of a storm that would shake Heartland to its core. The morning after the storm, Heartland felt different, to quiet, to tense. The rain had stopped, but the air carried the weight of what had been left unsaid. Amy didn't sleep that night. Nathan's warning echoed in her head. "If they find out what you know, you'll be next." But who were they? And what did Nathan's father have to do with any of this? Amy's hands trembled as she poured herself a cup of coffee in the kitchen. Jack and Tim were already at the table, arguing in low voices. Tim slammed the newspaper down. "I told you Nathan's trouble. That boy's hiding something." Jack frowned, his gaze steady but uncertain. "Maybe, but I've seen that look in his eyes before. It's not lies, it's fear." Outside, the horses neighed nervously, pacing in their stalls. Amy felt that same unease in her chest. She decided to check the barn again, hoping to find something Nathan might have left behind. As she sifted through the feed sacks, something small and metallic rolled out, a broken syringe cap. Her breath caught. She knew this wasn't one of theirs. The label was faded, but the initials NH Pharma were still visible. It wasn't a veterinary product. It was something else, something human. Amy called Lou, her voice tense. "Lou, I found something. It's not just about the horse, this was meant for someone. Lou's tone was sharp, confused. Amy, what are you talking about? Amy hesitated. The poison wasn't an accident. Someone used the horse to test it. But the real target was Nathan. Before Lou could respond, the call cut out. The signal had been fine a second ago. Amy frowned and looked toward the horizon. A truck was parked just outside the property line. It was the same black truck Nathan drove the night he arrived. But now it sat empty. Engine off. Her heart began to race. She approached carefully, boots crunching on the gravel. The truck door was unlocked. Inside, she found papers scattered across the seat, lab results, old photographs, and one document that made her blood run cold. Subject: A. Fleming, connection confirmed. It was her name. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. Nathan stood there, drenched in sweat, his eyes wide with desperation. You shouldn't have seen that, he said, his voice cracking. Amy stepped back, clutching the file. What is this, Nathan? Why is my name on this? He exhaled shakily. Because this isn't just my fight anymore. My father was working with someone who wanted to destroy every ranch in Hudson that refused to join their deal. He thought he could protect me by keeping quiet. But when he died, they turned to me. Amy shook her head, disbelief flooding her. And you brought it here? To Heartland? Nathan's voice broke. I didn't mean to. They followed me. The horse was only the first warning. The barn door creaked again. This time it wasn't the wind. Jack stepped in, his face pale as he overheard the last words. First warning? He repeated. What's coming next, Nathan? Nathan turned toward him slowly, guilt written all over his face. If we don't stop them, the next one won't be a horse. The room fell silent. The only sound was the soft tapping of rain starting again outside, quiet, steady, and cold. Amy's mind raced as she stared down at the file with her name on it. She had stumbled into something much darker than she'd ever imagined, and now Heartland itself was in danger. The truth was finally coming to light, but it carried poison in its veins, and Nathan wasn't the only one it was about to destroy. The night sky hung low over Heartland, heavy with clouds that swallowed the stars. The ranch was silent, but inside Amy's heart, everything screamed. She couldn't stop thinking about that file, her name printed beside Nathan's, connected by a secret she didn't understand. The truth was close, but it felt poisonous. As if every answer carried another lie, the barn lights flickered as Amy stepped inside. The air smelled of hay and rain, but something else lingered to fear. Spartan lifted his head uneasy. Amy whispered, "It's okay, boy," though even she didn't believe it. Then came the faint sound of footsteps. Slow, careful. She turned, and Nathan stood there, his eyes hollow, his shirt soaked from the storm. "You shouldn't be here," Amy said, her voice low but firm. "I didn't come to fight," Nathan replied. "I came to confess." He walked closer, stopping by the stall where the poisoned horse once lay weak. "They told me to do it," he said quietly, "to bring the toxin here, to make it look like Heartland couldn't care for their own. But I couldn't do it, Amy. I tried to destroy the evidence, but someone beat me to it." Amy's breath caught. "So, you were involved?" she asked, eyes narrowing. "All this time you've been hiding the truth from us." Nathan's jaw clenched. "You think I wanted this? You think I'd risk Heartland or you?" He slammed his fist against a wooden post, the sound echoing like thunder. "My father's past is haunting me. Those people don't stop, Amy. They use fear to control, and if I didn't play along, they would have killed me." Amy's voice trembled now. "Then why didn't you trust us? Why come here with secrets that could destroy everything Jack built?" Nathan's shoulders sagged. "Because Heartland is the only place that ever felt like home, and I didn't want it to become their next target." Before Amy could reply, a flashlight beam cut through the barn door. Jack and Tim stormed in, Lou right behind them. Jack's voice boomed. "Step away from her, Nathan." His hand hovered near the shotgun he carried. Though he hadn't raised it yet, Nathan didn't move. "Jack, listen to me, you have to understand. I was trying to protect Amy." "Protect her?" Tim barked. "You brought danger to her doorstep." The tension was suffocating. Amy stepped between them, her voice breaking. "Stop it! This isn't helping." She turned to Nathan. "If you want us to believe you, then Tell us everything. Who's behind this? Who poisoned that horse?" Nathan's lips parted, but before he could answer, a shot rang out. Everyone froze. The sound echoed across the fields, sharp and final. Jack rushed toward the door while Amy dropped beside Nathan, who had fallen to his knees, hands trembling not from pain, but from shock. The bullet hadn't hit him. It had struck the barn wall just inches away. From outside came the roar of an engine, then silence. Whoever fired that shot was gone. Morning broke with a silence that felt unnatural, as if Hudson itself was holding its breath. The mist hung low over the hills, swallowing the ranch in gray light. Amy stood by the fence, watching the fog curl around the fields, her thoughts a storm of doubt and fear. The shot from the night before still echoed in her ears. Whoever fired it wasn't trying to scare Nathan. They were sending a warning, one that said stop digging, or else. But Amy had never been one to back down when truth was buried. Nathan approached quietly, his face pale, his eyes hollow from another sleepless night. In his hand was something small, a torn photograph, edges burned. He handed it to Amy. "This was left in my truck this morning," he said, voice low. Amy looked closer. The image showed a cabin by a lake, Hudson Lake, and behind it, a man who looked just like Nathan's father, standing beside someone she didn't recognize. On the back, written in red ink, were the words, "You want answers? Come home." Nathan swallowed hard. "That cabin was my father's. It's been locked up for years." Amy met his gaze. "Then that's where we'll find the truth." Jack warned them not to go, but Amy couldn't wait. By afternoon, she and Nathan were driving through the old forest roads, the tires crunching over gravel as fog weaved between the trees. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became. No birds, no wind, just the hum of the truck and the weight of the past pressing down on them. When they reached the cabin, the door hung off one hinge, and the air smelled of dust and something bitter like old chemicals. Inside, the walls were covered in newspaper clippings about ranch collapses, veterinary scandals, and a headline that froze Amy in place. "Local trainer found dead amid doping allegations, Nathan Harris Seoster." Amy turned to Nathan. "Your father wasn't framed, was he?" Nathan's eyes filled with tears. "He was part of it. The whole thing. He was helping distribute illegal enhancers to ranches, claiming they were vitamins. When he tried to back out, they silenced him. I thought I could make it right by staying quiet, but they used me instead." Amy looked down and noticed a wooden crate half buried beneath the floorboards. She knelt, prying it open. Inside were vials, the same kind she'd found in the barn, and a stack of letters. One was addressed to her grandfather, Jack Bartlett. Her hands trembled as she unfolded it. "Jack, if you're reading this, it means I failed. They'll come for Nathan next. Protect him, he doesn't know what he's carrying." Her voice broke as she whispered the words aloud. Nathan stepped closer, realization dawning. They weren't trying to kill me. They were trying to retrieve something I had. Something I didn't even know about. Suddenly, headlights cut through the fog outside. A truck pulled up, the same black one that haunted Amy's dreams since the poisoning. Two men stepped out, shadows in the mist. Nathan grabbed Amy's hand and pulled her behind the cabin. "They found us," he muttered. The men entered the cabin, their voices low and sharp. "Take everything. Burn the rest." Amy's pulse raced. They had no phone signal, no way out. But through the woods, Nathan turned to her, whispering, "We split up. I'll lead them away." "No," Amy hissed. "You won't survive." He looked at her, pain in his eyes. "If I don't, none of this will matter." Before she could stop him, he stepped out, shouting to draw their attention. The men chased after him, their footsteps echoing through the trees. Amy ran the opposite way, clutching the letter against her chest, tears blurring her vision. When she reached the ridge, she looked back. The cabin was burning, flames licking at the roof, swallowing the past in smoke and ash. Nathan's voice echoed faintly through the forest. "Tell Jack, it's over." Then came silence. Amy fell to her knees, sobbing as the fire consumed everything. The truth had finally been revealed, but at a cost Heartland might never recover from. As dawn broke, the smoke drifted over Hudson Lake like a ghost. Amy whispered to the wind, "You kept your promise, Nathan. You made it right." And for the first time in days, The air felt lighter, like the poison that had hung over Heartland had finally begun to fade. The ashes of Hudson Lake still drifted in the air when Amy returned to Heartland. The fire had burned through the night, painting the sky in shades of orange and sorrow. The smell of smoke clung to her clothes, and though the morning sun had risen, everything felt dim. The cabin was gone. The secrets, the poison, the sins of the past all turned to dust. But Nathan hadn't come back. Amy stood in the barn doorway, her hand resting on Spartan's mane. She could feel the horse's calm heartbeat beneath her palm, grounding her in the chaos. For a moment, she closed her eyes and let the stillness wash over her until she saw the letter again. The one Nathan's father had written to Jack. The edges were burned, but the message remained. Protect him. Jack entered quietly, his boots soft against the dirt floor. His face looked older somehow, worn by grief and understanding. You did what you had to, Amy, he said gently, but some battles, they don't end clean. Amy nodded, tears glinting in her eyes. He tried to save us, Jack. He led them away. He didn't even look back. Jack sighed deeply, leaning against the stall. Nathan was never like his father. That boy carried guilt that wasn't his to bear. Maybe now he's free of it outside. The wind swept through the valley, carrying the faint sound of water lapping against the lake. Amy stepped out, watching the clouds scatter. He wanted Heartland safe, she whispered, and he did it. Later that day, Lou found Amy sitting by the fence, staring into the distance. Lou handed her an envelope. Police found this near the lake. It's addressed to you. Amy's heart stopped for a moment. She tore it open, and inside was a single page, written in Nathan's familiar handwriting, rushed but steady. Amy, if you're reading this, it means I did what I had to. Don't look for me. The people who poisoned the horses are gone, but so is the name they carried. My father's debts are paid now in full. Take care of Heartland. It's the only place that ever showed me what peace felt like. And if you ever see the sunrise over Hudson Lake, don't think of me as gone. Think of me as free. Nathanimes. Tears fell silently onto the page. She pressed the letter to her chest, feeling the ache of both loss and peace. For so long, Nathan had been the storm, unpredictable, dangerous, full of secrets. But in the end, he became the calm. After as evening fell, Amy walked down to the lake. The surface was smooth, the reflection of the sunset glowing like gold on glass. She knelt by the water and let the wind lift the last bit of ash from her hand, letting it fall into the rippling light. Her voice was soft, carried by the breeze. Goodbye, Nathan. You saved more than the ranch. You saved us all. Behind her, Jack stood in silence, his hat in his hands. You know, he said quietly, sometimes the hardest thing isn't forgiving others. It's forgiving ourselves. The first light of dawn spilled gently across the Heartland fields, brushing the grass with soft gold. The storm had passed, but its memory lingered like a bruise. Amy stood by the old corral, the morning air cool against her skin, the world still, quiet as if Hudson itself was finally at peace. The night's chaos had given way to silence, but not the kind that hurts. This was the silence that follows healing. For days, Amy had searched for signs of Nathan, a footprint, a word, anything. But there was nothing. Only that letter and the faint echo of his voice, promising her freedom from the shadows that haunted them both. Yet, even in his absence, it felt like he was still there, in the wind that brushed the trees, in the calm gaze of the horses, in the place where courage met forgiveness. Jack joined her by the fence, his eyes tracing the horizon. You've been up every morning since the fire, he said softly. Amy nodded. I keep expecting him to ride back, like he always does. But maybe he's already where he needs to be. Jack's voice was gentle but firm. Some people aren't meant to stay, Amy. They're meant to change the course of your story and then disappear. She smiled faintly, tears threatening to return. He changed more than that. He made me see how easy it is to lose yourself when you carry someone else's pain. The sound of hooves pulled their attention, Spartan trotting across the pasture, his mane glowing under the rising sun. Amy walked toward him, running her fingers through his coat, whispering, We're okay now, boy. We're going to be okay. As she turned back toward the house, Lou stood on the porch, holding 2 mugs of coffee. You still thinking about him? she asked. Amy nodded. Every day, but not with sadness anymore. Just gratitude. Lou handed her a mug, her expression soft. You know, I think people like Nathan don't vanish. They leave pieces of themselves behind in the people they save. Amy looked out over the fields. Then I guess Heartland will always carry a part of him. The camera drifts upward, the ranch bathed in sunlight. The scars of fire now just faint marks on the earth. Life moves forward. The horses graze peacefully. The barn stands strong. And the Bartlett Fleming family continues their quiet rhythm. But the heart of the story, the pain, the love, the redemption remains etched in every breath of Hudson air. Voiceover. In every sunrise, there's a story waiting to be told, one of loss, of hope, and of the hearts that refuse to break. Nathan's race ended long ago, but what he left behind was more powerful than the secrets he carried. The sun dipped low behind the hills, casting long shadows across the fields of Heartland. The golden light touched every corner of the ranch defenses, the barn, the horses, like a quiet promise that peace had returned. But for Amy, peace didn't mean forgetting. It meant learning to live with the echoes of everything that had happened, and everything she'd lost. A week had passed since the fire at Hudson Lake. The police ruled it an accident, but Amy knew better. She had seen the fear in Nathan's eyes, the choice he made to protect her, to protect them all. His disappearance left a hollow ache, but also a strange calm, the kind that comes when you finally understand why someone had to leave. That evening, Amy found herself sitting on the porch with Jack, watching the sunset melt into the horizon. Neither of them spoke for a long time. The air smelled of hay and pine, carrying faint whispers from the past. Finally, Jack broke the silence. He was a good man. Deep down, he said quietly, just trapped in a bad story. Amy's lips curved into a small, sad smile. He saved Heartland, Jack. Even if no one ever knows it. Jack nodded slowly. The ones who matter will. The wind picked up gently, rustling through the trees. Amy closed her eyes and imagined Nathan riding across the fields one last time, free, unburdened, part of the land he'd once endangered but ultimately saved. Maybe some stories didn't need perfect endings. Maybe survival was enough. She took a deep breath and stood, walking toward Spartan, who waited patiently by the gate. She stroked his neck and whispered, "We'll keep going." For him. Spartan nickered softly, his breath warm against her hand. Lou appeared in the doorway, holding a small box. "I found this in the barn," she said, handing it to Amy. Inside lay Nathan's old silver watch, its glass cracked but still ticking faintly. On the back, a single engraving read, "For every second that matters." Amy's throat tightened. She turned the watch over in her hands, then looked toward the sunset. "He didn't waste a single one," she murmured as the sky turned from gold to deep violet. The camera pans out Heartland glowing in the evening light, alive and peaceful once again. The wind carries the faint sound of hooves, a soft echo. That could be imagination, or something more. Then comes the final voiceover, soft, reflective, full of warmth and memory. In Hudson, time has a way of healing what pain leaves behind. The land remembers, the heart forgives, and even when the ones we love are gone, their stories live on in the soil, in the sky, and in every sunrise that follows. Nathan's desperate race was never about running away. It was about running toward redemption. And in the end, he found it not in the victory, but in the sacrifice.